I thought, I'll make a disc out of recycled plastic in my garage. How hard could it be?
Hey everyone, Dr. Jim Hoven here, host of the Ramos Law Difference Makers podcast, and I am so glad you are with us today because I have someone really cool going to talk about something, a favorite topic of mine that I hope if it's new to you, you'll go out and check it out. We're going to talk a lot more than about just disc golf, which is what we're going to hit today, but we're going to talk about business, we're going to talk about life. This is going to be a cool show, but I hope this raises some intrigue to you about the sport, or if you already love the sport, that it helps you just get some more richness of it. So anyway, I have with me today Jesse Stedman, and he is actually the owner, founder of Trash Panda. And it's a very cool company. I'm not going to steal his thunder and tell you what makes it so unique and special. I'm going to let him do that, but this is going to be fun. So Jesse, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Dude,
stoked to be here.
We've been trying to pull this off for quite a while now.
That's great.
And here you are, and I'm so jealous because you were throwing some discs at a disc golf course right before coming to this.
You know, you'd think I would do it a lot more working in the industry of disc golf, but it's like maybe once every other month or once a month that I end up throwing discs for work. So it's pretty rare, but yeah, I got out this morning. It's been nice weather. Can't complain.
Yes, and we are here. It's so wild. We're here in not even the end of March.
Yep.
And it's over 70 degrees outside. So
I think it's supposed to be 80 today.
Yeah, and I am
crazy.
Like jonesing to get out and start throwing the disc, right?
Yeah.
The two things I like to throw in life are discs and flies on fly fishing. So those
there we go.
Either one would be a great day today.
Yeah.
And so I can't wait for you to share with us the history of Trash Panda, what it is. I want to hear about the name. I want to hear about the special things that it does. And I know our audience is going to be super excited. So first of all, what makes one person decide to open up a disc golf manufacturing company?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably ask someone else. But as far as what happened for me, I started playing back in 2008. I was in high school. I was living in Northern California. That's where I grew up. And I started playing the sport, and just it quickly became like the top hobby. And so for about a decade, I was just playing, enjoying, doing other things for work. And somewhere along the line, I just remember thinking, man, we're out here in nature throwing plastic discs. Where's the recycled plastic? And some people had done a few things with recycled plastic, but nothing substantial. And so as anyone does, when they have that thought, they just wait for someone else to do something. And so I waited for a little over a decade and just kept falling in love with the sport. Didn't really think I would do anything in it. And then 2020, just a crazy coincidence of it made sense in my head to start a company in my garage in April of 2020, which looking back now doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I thought, I'll make a disc out of recycled plastic in my garage. How hard could it be?
Oh.
Clearly, my background was in marketing and not engineering. I had no idea how to do it or anything. So I taught myself how to weld, built an injection molding machine that operated on my body weight. It was like, it sounds complex. Think Flintstones. Like, it was not as complex as you're thinking. And I literally started to learn everything about plastics and melt flow and the different types and all of these different parts of what it's like to injection mold with my body weight in my garage. I think my neighbors thought I was cooking meth in there or something. Like it looked weird from the outside. I had the gas mask on and everything, you know what I mean? I was like, no, I'm recycling.
It's cool.
Like,
it's all good here.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't know, to answer your question, like what causes someone to do it. I think for me, when I look at business, I've looked back on my personal experience starting the company, and I've looked at others, and I think there were two ingredients that were pretty helpful. One is being naive. If I knew how to make a disc in my garage, I would have never tried to make a disc in my garage. It was impossible. It was so hard. Plastics is it's chemistry and science and magic combined. Like, it's so complex. It never would have worked in the garage. So I think naivete is like a big, important piece of starting a company. And then additionally, maybe just a unreal amount of self-confidence. Cause I remember telling like people in my family, hey, I'm going to make this in my garage. I'm calling it Trash Panda. And I remember their eyes just said, let me know when you find the next thing. Like, this isn't going to go anywhere. And here we are, 6 years later. We've got a full manufacturing facility with multiple full-scale industrial injection molding machines. We recycle, like last year alone, we made a little over 100,000 discs from 100% recycled plastic. So
Let me ask you this, a couple things. If we go back before the beginning, the inception, when it was maybe even just hatching in your mind as a concept, you talked about that you were asking yourself the question, where are the recycled discs? Have you had a heart for the green initiative and doing things that way? That's a great
question. I almost went there to say this, so I'm really happy you asked that question. No. People ask me all the time, like, did you grow up super sustainable? Like, what was the thought process? No. I genuinely think I grew up with like a not to say my family wasn't like mindful, and like I grew up recycling glass bottles to try to pay my way to camp, right? And things like that. But I didn't grow up with that like super granola sustainable, like, you know, type childhood. I think more so it was just the math of there are usable materials ending up in landfills. We should use those. That just like that maths in my head. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know exactly when there was a moment, if at all, that sustainability became important to me. And I don't know if there was, I can't even track back to a moment of like, oh, I really want to start my own company. But I'm very grateful for the, you know, fate that made those things happen.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, as you and I were talking, we are looking to get more into the disc golf world because I love to play. There are several people on the team that love to play. And so I was talking with you and saying, hey, I'd like to get some Ramos Law branded discs that we could, you know, support the community and introduce it to people who have, you know, whether it be first responders or single moms or someone who's down on their luck or recovering from an injury or illness. How could we bring this game to them to bring them the joy it brings to me? And you had made this comment like, hey, man, you know, we don't really do a lot of graphic stuff with stickers or paint because it's hard on the environment. We emboss them. And so my question would be, because of Trash Panda, has it then converted you on the rest of the sustainable lifestyle thing? Or are you saying, man, this is my part? Like, this is where I'm really doing my part?
No, for sure. I mean, yeah, my wife and I are as classic as it gets. Like, don't have paper towels in our house. We have, you know, reusable paper towels that we washed in the washing machine, right? So like, sustainability is really important to me.
So this has had an impact inverse of where you thought. It didn't necessarily drive you to the company, but you have been formed, like you formed Discs, you have been formed to be.
Yeah, kind of. It was probably before that I really started like, you know, acting and living more sustainably. Mm-hmm. It's doubled down a little bit more because of the company for sure.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's just, I mean, yeah, it's like, it is sometimes harder, right? Like a single-use plastic water bottle, or like walking out of a grocery store with, you know, 5 things in hand as opposed to having a bag to hold them. Like, sure, there are inconvenient aspects of it, but it is a small cost of inconvenience as far as I see it to just, you know, try to live a little bit more mindfully.
I agree. How did you come up with the name Trash Panda?
Oh, you keep asking questions about when there was a moment, and I don't remember the moments. Maybe my memory is just bad.
Did that raccoon come show himself to you carrying a plastic bottle?
No, my wife and I had like tossed around a handful of names. There were some ideas, and I mean, I say this in jest, but it came down to the fact that my wife, when we had a bunch of names on the table, she was like, I'll leave you if you don't choose Trash Panda.
So she really liked it?
It was like, it's Trash Panda.
Okay.
And obviously she was right. It worked out perfectly. You know, I don't know. The raccoons are just the perfect mascot for what we're doing. We're the ones who are, you know, neck deep in the trash and recycling. And it's a really, like, when it comes to injection molding, recycling is a really complex endeavor because everything in injection molding is built and optimized for virgin plastic, not recycled plastic. And for scale, which recycled plastic is not necessarily scalable. So it's just, it's a scrappy mascot for us, which is perfect.
Love it. And where do you get the recycled plastic? And then how do you turn it into a disc? Do you, like, is it is it everything from bottles to, plastic bottles to plastic,
question,
this and that, and then you melt it all down into blocks and then melt that? Like, how does that process
great
work?
question. So it is a very specific type of plastic. What I didn't know when I first started Trash Panda is that, at least what I thought when I first started Trash Panda, I'm in my garage, I'm like, oh, I'll make a disc. I thought plastic is plastic is plastic. So I thought all the types of plastic were relatively similar to one another. Turns out plastic is engineered on a chemical level for a specific purpose. So the plastic type that you'd use for, say, a water bottle is used for a water bottle because it makes a great water bottle. But if we made it into a disc, it would be stiff, it would be slick, and it would literally shatter when it hits a tree. So the type of plastic we use is called primarily thermoplastic polyurethane. It's a very durable plastic that you'd find in typically medical, automotive, agricultural, and sporting goods industries.
Okay.
And so we recycle plastic generally from those industries, a lot of shoe soles, a lot of phone cases, a lot of discs as well. We started a disc recycling program because I was in my garage telling the story on YouTube about, hey, how here's what I'm working on, here's what I'm doing. People just started sending me broken discs. I don't even know how they got my address. They just started sending them. And maybe I need to get the address off the internet. Anyway, so we started a disc recycling program because when we first released our discs, we were like, man, we want to be circular. We want to make it so that this disc can go, you can throw it on the course, have a great time with it, use it for years, and then send it back. We'll make it into a new disc. And to date, since starting that program, I want to say it was maybe 3 years ago now, we've recycled a little over 60,000 discs.
Wow.
Which is, I know, not the number I thought it would be. I thought it'd be 60.
Yes.
Like I didn't think there was that many discs out there that needed to be recycled. And I think we're really scratching the surface still.
That's amazing. Is there a time, this is just personal use, because here's how I got started in disc golf. My son brought it to my attention. We went and played, but there were no baskets. They had taken out the baskets. So we were just aiming at it. Let's do that tree. Yeah. And then a dear friend and the guy who heads up our culture here at the firm, Ian Carella, then he and his family were really into it. So then we started doing it.
Nice.
So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I went to Play It Again Sports and I just bought all the discs that they had that were used, right?
Yep.
And so I didn't know anything about anything. I just knew that there were three types. There was a putter, a midi, a mid-range, and then a driver.
Yep.
And so I didn't know about the four numbers that make them all do stuff. I mean, it's technical, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how I started. And those discs are old. When is it on a disc? This is, for those of you that are watching that, this may be a little deep in the weeds for you on disc golf stuff, but for you disc golfers, this may be helpful. How do you know when a disc has seen its day? Is it when it cracks or does it fly differently? How do you know when it's time to send it back?
It's all over the place. It might not fit your game anymore. It might be, it's hit so many trees that it's just flying different than you want it to. I mean, obviously when it's cracked, that's,
it's over.
Yeah. But we get discs, a lot of the discs we get are actually perfectly good. So we take those and we donate them to schools, clubs, organizations, stuff like that. So we won't grind up a perfectly good disc to make a perfectly good disc. If we're in this for sustainability, then that's just energy consumption for no reason, right?
Yes.
So we get discs from all over the place. Basically, the disc recycling program is set up to just be, you can send it in if it doesn't fit you anymore.
Got it.
Why it doesn't fit someone, it's all over the place.
Okay.
Plenty of reasons.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, with the growth, let's talk a little bit about business. You said that you were in marketing prior. What did you do before this as your marketing career?
Yeah, I mean, there was a handful of things, but roughly marketing at a nonprofit is pretty much what was going on before this. And so I my dad was a pastor, grew up in a very religious home with a dad who was like doing a job that it had a purpose.
Yes.
So I think if I go down to like the core of who I am, it's really hard for me to imagine work without a purpose.
Yeah.
So that's why Trash Panda is like pretty uniquely, we're not a nonprofit. We're a for-profit company. But a lot of what we do has that like mission-driven, purpose-built nonprofit ethos to it.
Yeah, the website clearly shows that is part of who you are. And I was super impressed, which is, before I knew you, I got to meet you and Kyle through Russ Birdsall, who's another chiropractor who's actually been on the podcast. A really great episode if you want to go check that out. and he's amazing. Like he's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and
don't play disc golf with him. It's infuriating. He shows you exactly how to do it, and you're like, you make it look so easy. Come on.
Yeah. And he was talking about the brand. And so that's where I went and looked at it and seen it on the website, and it was just beautiful to me. The fact that you've put that infusion, I guess kind of pun intended with you guys and doing all the infusion of plastics, you put that infusion of heart, of purpose, of mission into the education of who you are as a business. What do you think business-wise are the fundamental pieces that has made Trash Panda successful? Obviously, that being part of it, being your soul. What are some of the other things that a business owner that's watching this, disc golfer or not, might go, wow, I can take what he did. He took something because he said he was too naive, he didn't know not to do it, and because he loved the sport and because he asked a question, took a business. Like there might be some gold in your answer for someone.
I don't know if I'm the one to define whether it's gold. Someone asked me maybe last year at one point. This year we hit 6 years in business, and they were like, how does it feel to run a successful company? And I was like, I will let you know. Because I think success for me is just a longer time horizon. Yeah. It's more, I'm right now with the team, we're looking at 15 years as a target for that's 25% of businesses get to 15 years. Once we get to 15 years, that's kind of the direction we're trying to go. And it doesn't end there. That's not the period. That's not the end of it. It's just, that's currently where we're looking.
That's where the horizon is right now.
Yeah. And there will be, of course, a horizon after that, right? So I think, I don't know in terms of ingredients and everything like that. People is a number one, because we could have gotten practically nowhere with just me in my garage, right? And being in your office and your building, seeing all the people, like obviously the people are what make it. Mm-hmm. I would say people's huge. And then I'm not sure this is the right answer, but I think early on, hard work is pretty important. Just a little bit of toughing it out, putting your head down, keep hiking. That's kind of a mentality. But then turning hard work into smart work, I think is a big feature. And we're kind of in that transition right now. And then the other one I'd say is just I'm just a learner. Like that to me, it's like I love business books. I love to read early in the morning before anyone else is up. I'm reading the most boring book in the world. I don't know what is happening in my brain, some kind of problem, but whatever's going on there, that's like, I love to learn. So I think running a business, it's just every day is a new opportunity to learn something new and apply it to the next one and apply it to the next one. So
have you had a mentor that is acting someone, whether someone like having face-to-face convos or studying a certain business school or figurehead or a culture person or a motivational person? Yeah. Is there someone that's really driven you and helped guide you in this process?
I mean, there's no greater mentor to me than my dad. My dad is someone I've always looked up to, and constantly think about what life would be like if I didn't have him to call.
Is he still a pastor?
No, he's retired.
Oh, he's retired. Shout out the church and stuff that he went to.
It was called Adventure in Northern California.
Super cool.
So yeah, he is obviously major mentor in my life. And then outside of that, it's interesting. Absolutely, I've had mentors. I've had coaches face to face, all kinds of things. But I would answer that question by just saying, like, I've everyone's a mentor. Everything is an opportunity, and when I say I like to read business books, I'm like one a week for years. That's just who I am. And so everyone is a mentor. And there's a few businesses I really look up to and like have kind of looked to for, certain, like Seth Godin is someone who I really looked to when it came to marketing and learning more about marketing. And then
being remarkable, right? That's one of his big concepts.
Yeah. Remarkable things get remarked upon. Yep. And then the guys who run 37 Signals, which is kind of the parent company over Basecamp, Jason Fried is one of the guys. And then David, I don't remember his last name. They've written a couple cool books that are like really meaningful to me in terms of looking at like, oh, that's a way you could do business. They're total tech company that's been around since 1999, I want to say. profitable since the first year, and they've never been willing to like turn work into something crazy, which feels like the classic Silicon Valley tech thing to do. And so I really respect their approach to kind of fighting against the way the stream is typically going. So that's a couple.
Yeah. I love it.
I could probably keep going, but
no, I love that. Because I know for me, whether it was in my chiropractic career or now doing the COO work for the law firm, and some of the other ventures in between, it has been about putting information into my brain that has really kept me focused on that thing. Like when I really want to focus on the health part of my life, I notice that I spend more time listening to podcasts, reading books about health, and that keeps me dialed in. On the business growth side, on the leadership side, on the culture side, as I infuse my mind with that material, it just starts coming out in my daily expression. Yeah. It sounds like you're a big part of that philosophy too.
Yeah, I probably have too much noise in my life. There's always a podcast or a video or something going, and every opportunity, even a 10-minute drive from one place to another, is a chance to like talk to someone or learn something. And I think I need to have a little more reflection and thinking time in my life.
You and I are wired the same. I'm the same. My wife says this way. She goes, you hate silence. Yeah. I'm like, I'm trying not to. I promise. I'm trying to get more into reflection and meditation, all that kind of stuff. But I get that. I get what you're saying. It's interesting.
Yeah, I like the. I do. There are no greater times to me than the times where I am just paused and reflecting and stuff like that. Talking about disc golf in the mountains in Colorado. If I can play a course at 6 a.m. when no one else is out there, the sun is rising in the mountains, it's just perfection. Oh. I think it's because my life is so loud though, right? Yeah. So I need it to be dialed back to zero to have those moments.
So good. Do you see, as you're going into this next phase of your horizon of your first 15, because now you're 6, you're going into the halfway point, right? You're
that's crazy.
I haven't thought about coming into the halfway point.
Yeah.
Have you thought about where you want the company to go and the mark that you want to continue to leave on the world?
I have a very ambiguous yes answer to that question. I want the company to become, selfishly, I created this company to become the greatest place to work at for me and to create a personal life and a freedom that I want. And the best version of that is a stone hitting the water and rippling to my employees and creating that for them, right? That my team and my people have a great workplace, a great work life, love what they get to do, but also have the freedom to be who they want to be outside of work as well.
How do you do that? How do you?
I'll let you know. I don't know.
And here's the thing, man. Like, we have our 5 core values, and we ask everyone, including the people in this room with us, we ask them to memorize those core values, and they're super simple. It's care deeply, communicate openly, honestly, and effectively, pursue excellence in everything you do, put others first, and have fun doing those things.
Yeah.
And what we found is that if people will take those, they'll assimilate them, and then they'll operate out of them. Their work life is better, and then their life outside our walls is better. So that's been a way that we try to do it, kind of at the education level. But then we really look for ways. This is why I'm interested in asking the questions to see what I can learn. Like, we do birthday lunches. We just had one yesterday where the whole group celebrates 1 month's birthdays. We do events. We take people to the suite. We do all these things to try to help this be the coolest place to work. So I'm really anxious on at least to this level in the company's life. How have you been able to make that a dream come true place to work?
Yeah, I'll let you know if we do it. Like I'm constantly striving for that. We're at 8 employees right now, so it's a really small team, and it's really easy to have FaceTime with everyone. But at the same time, like, we're 6 years in, but 2 of those years were me alone, right? And then we added 1, and then we added another. So it's been a really slow and steady, sustainable, no pun intended, climb of like not going too fast, not growing too fast. And so we're now finally at that page of, we can't do our team holiday party in our warehouse because we don't have enough space in our conference room for all the people we have, right? And so now we need to rent out a space. And then I was literally sitting at our holiday party last year. We rented out a room at Culinary Dropout. It's a restaurant in Denver.
Place.
Yeah, great
spot. Great place.
We rented out a room there, and I was looking around at the table with all my employees, all their partners, and I was just like, wow. And one day we won't fit in here. Like, that's just we're in the middle of that. So I don't know. I think if you deeply care, though, it just like care deeply. You said that's one of the things. I think if you deeply care, you're wired in a way that you can't not have care for your employees, right? So yeah.
And you guys sell discs all over the planet.
Yeah, I think we've sold to maybe a little over 30 countries at this point. We host events as well that have had participation in over 30 countries where we do this disc swap where people can sign up and they're signed up to send to someone, and then that person sends to someone else, and then that person sends to them. So everyone gets a disc. That has like always 28 countries, 30 countries. Last year I had 12,000 people who were part of it. And so, yeah, the discs have flown all around the world, which is awesome. Disc golf is, the biggest market share for disc golf is going to be the US. And then a fascinating part of disc golf to especially the non-disc golfer, but even inside of disc golf, is how popular disc golf is in places that get very cold in the winter.
Really?
You look at the Northeast in the US, you look at the, center Midwest, North Midwest, you look at Canada, Scandinavia. Like, disc golf is super popular in Sweden and Norway and Estonia. And like, why?
Yeah.
It's, half the year they can't play, but, or maybe a third of the year. But yeah, it's like a very popular sport in cold climates. So yeah, anyway, that's pretty much, if you look at the geographic location of where our discs are going, I would say primarily it's going to be Europe, Canada, US, and then Australia. There's been some other stuff like Japan and Mexico and stuff like that sprinkled in, but generally that's where our discs are.
Let's talk just for a second for the non-disc golfer out there. What is it about disc golf that would make them take it up? I have my answer, but I would like from your perspective, because you have gone through from being a consumer of the game and of the product to now a leader in the game and of the process. So from if you're looking at it and you're talking to someone out there and you're like, man, here's what disc golf is and here's why you should try it.
Yeah. I can speak to why I love it. And then beyond that, like I don't love it because it's a time for me to get out with my family because I don't have kids and that's not what I'm doing. But some people love it for that reason, right? So I would say generally the things that come to mind for other people, and then I'll speak to myself, is going to be the accessibility and the affordability for, getting your family out. Because you can buy, like you said, you could go to Play It Again. You could get 2 discs for you for less than $20, 2 discs for someone else for less than $20 that are used. And then 89% of courses are still free to play. So you can get out and play for a year spending $20, right?
Until you lose one of them.
Until you lose one of them, exactly.
or that's 2 or 3 like me.
And that's going to happen on round 1. Yeah. I would say for me, early days, and disc golf became very therapeutic. It was my way to get out and be alone. We talked about silence already. It was my way to just be with myself and, throw the discs, play a game that was all about improvement, trying to visualize a line, throw that line, and then maybe throw a second disc to try to correct on the previous one or whatever. But then also just be by myself out in nature. I've always been a guy who loved the outdoors. So like being outside in these beautiful places with these fairways that are carving through the tree lines and, up in the mountains in Colorado, you've got shots off the mountain, right? So that's just a wonderful thing, relatively accessible in terms of, physically. Like it's not the type of thing where you have to run, where you have to be in crazy good shape. Obviously not going to be the most accessible thing if you're, like it's hard to get around a lot of courses in a wheelchair and stuff like that. But that would be, I would say for me, it's the therapeutic side of it. There's also the tournament side. There's the competitive side. That's not me, but that's our mutual friend Russ. That's Kyle. That's like, there's a lot of people who love it for the competition too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and I'll answer for me when I first started, I'm not a golfer.
Yep.
It's not really my thing, but I enjoy going to Topgolf and just hitting a golf ball.
Yeah.
This gave me a chance to do something where you can pick it up pretty quick. You don't have to be uber athletic.
Yep.
You can pick it up pretty quick and you can get the idea, and you're throwing it into this cage, right?
Yep.
The disc towards a cage, but there was something about it that was just relaxing.
Yeah.
And I'm outside. And I'm walking, and I'm with friends, and
Totally.
my wife and I can do it together. And if I can throw it a little farther or a whole bunch farther, it doesn't matter, because we're not on the competitive side. So we're not keeping score. We're not competing with each other. We're just taking a walk, and we happen to be throwing discs and sometimes getting better than others. And I'll tell you, with the improvement side, and again, for those of you guys that have never played and tried it, when you don't get hung up on this, but each disc has 4 different numbers on it that talk about how hard you have to throw it to get it to do what it's supposed to do, then how long it's going to glide, then how much it's going to go one way, then how much it's going to go the other way.
Yeah.
Right. And he has to make all these discs with all these various numbers. So there's 3 types, with whether it's the putter, the midi, or the driver, but there's different 4 numbers for each of those, that there can be multiple versions. And then how you throw that is how it acts. So there's a lot to it, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, it is something that you don't need to get hung up on. But early on, if you go play disc golf and you see someone with a backpack full of discs, that makes no sense. Why does someone have a backpack full of discs? Well, all the discs fly differently.
Yes.
So you can get them to do different shot shapes you want. You can angle your body or your release and throw them in certain ways to get them to do different things. If you go backhand, it's going to spin one way. If you go forehand, it's going to spin the other way. And so it'll do the opposite thing. But then you get into injection molding, and when you're melting plastic, this is way too deep, but hey, you had a guy who recycles plastic on, so here we are. When you melt plastic, the molecules go like this, and then they come back together. So people will tell you that plastic shrinks when it cools. And that's what's happening, is the molecules are kind of spreading apart, and then they're coming back together. The hotter you melt, the more it can shrink back. And so this distance traveled, this is a crude image, but the distance traveled is roughly telling what you need to know. Depending on how we make the disc, we can end up with 2 discs that are made in the exact same mold out of the exact same plastic that also fly differently because of the plastic. So in the game of recycling, it's all over the place too for us. Being able to try to manufacture something that is probably the thing I'm most proud about is that we've proven that you can use 100% recycled plastic in disc golf. We're talking about a product that needs to fly in a way that people can, expect and understand and rely on. It also needs to hit a tree at 60 miles an hour and fly the same on the next throw, right? People say that, so many things about plastic and recycling. And the common thing in our world in injection molding is to use maybe 5%, maybe 15%, 25% is a lot of recycled plastic in a product. We use and have only ever used 100%.
And are the only company.
Only company not only in disc golf to only ever do that, but I've never heard of another company doing that in any industry. Now, don't get me wrong, there are companies who make a product out of 100% recycled plastic, but I'm talking about an injection molding company that only does that. That injection molding company that might make a 100% recycled product, that's very unusual, but they probably also make a virgin plastic product here or use a mix here or something like that. I've never heard of anyone only using 100%. And we're not doing it with some basic, bottle cap that needs to just be a bottle cap. We're doing it with a disc that has the highest performance expectations. I'm very proud of that because if it's possible for us, it's possible everywhere else too, right? And so we're obviously not the most complex thing in the world made with plastic. Obviously not. I'll say the word medical, and obviously there's way more complex stuff that's made with plastic. We're not the most complex, but we're not the simplest thing either. And the fact that we can do it out of recycled plastic makes me proud to be an innovator and a leader in the fact that end market products can be made with recycled plastic entirely. So it's a point of pride for me, and being a local manufacturer is also a major point of pride there. Being in Denver, doing it all right here. It's I'm very grateful for what I get to do.
So Jesse, here's a question for you. How many prototypes did you have to go through until you found one that actually worked or did what you wanted it to do?
Yeah, that's so interesting. In the garage, I think I had 5 prototypes to make our first disc.
Did you keep those?
Oh yeah. Have everything. When you come down to the warehouse, you'll see it all. We've got that garage machine in the lobby, right? Like it's all, I don't know why I kept it all, but I'm very grateful I did. So probably 5 different actual like metal molds, and then plastic wise, I can't even count how many prototypes. It was 2.5 years from first idea and starting to build the machine in my garage to releasing our first disc. So quite a bit happened in those 2.5 years.
You've talked a lot about, Jesse, about sustainability, and we're trying to see where as a country we can move into that. Or do you see other industries or other opportunities where sustainability might become more of a player, like it's 100% the player in your world? Do you see the future for that?
For sure. Yeah, it's I think fundamentally it's absolutely there. It's just a matter of, are people willing to do the hard work, or are people going to just optimize for the bottom line? Because recycling is more expensive. Someone was touring our warehouse and they asked, like, so is this more expensive than what everyone else is doing? And I was like, you know how I can unequivocally say yes? Because if it was cheaper, everyone would be doing it. Like, that's just the truth. The plastic might be cheaper sometimes, but when you get to then making it and processing it and the problems you run into and the fact that you can't automate and run robotics and all these types of things, it's absolutely more expensive. So if people are willing to optimize that for that, I'd say for sure. In terms of us extending to other sports or other spaces, eventually I'm sure, and that might be on the next horizon after this horizon, but disc golf, there's so many different types of discs, and we only have 6 discs out right now. So we'll continue to expand our lineup, our product offering, and then maybe start to entertain new products elsewhere. So,
Jesse, I am so proud of what you have done. I mean, we're new friends. We've been talking for a while. We have mutual friends, and all of that, just our time together today has been so warming for me to hear, because here's part of the thing that's making you a success that you may or may not see. Every question I asked you, you were so just like, you didn't have like, there's 7 principles that I follow, because there are businesses and there are leaders
for sure
that do that. But for you, the journey that you're taking and the people that you're taking with you, you're doing it your way, and it's working, and you're making an impact, and you're doing it in a way that we can all learn from, and how can we all do better? So, man, I have just gotten so much from this. And if people wanted to learn more about Trash Panda as a company, you as a CEO, founder, about disc golf, how could they reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, if we're doing our job, you should be able to just Google Trash Panda and we should come up pretty quickly. I will tell you, trashpandadiscgolf.com is the website. But to your point of the questions you ask and my answers, I think I said it already, I'm such a learner that, like, even when it comes to business and the company and everything, like, I'm still learning, and I just love that learning together. Like, it's what a joy that we get to learn together and improve together. And so YouTube has been a huge part of what we do, and we've done so many videos on YouTube where we've tested different things and tried to make a disc that, what would happen if plastic's cooling, what would happen if we kept it heated when it was cooling? Or what would happen if we took it off the machine and put it right in the freezer? Would it fly different, right? And so we do all kinds of fun stuff like that on YouTube. So you can check us out on YouTube too. Again, you should be able to look up Trash Panda and it should come up if we're doing our job. But you might have to dig if we're not doing our job. So, yeah.
Well, I think you're doing your job, and I can't wait for us to play together. I know you don't get a lot of time to play
we'll make it happen.
To the stuff, but I would love to do that. We'll get you and Russ and me and Kyle. I will be the worst player of the 4 of us, but we will go have a good time.
No, that'd be great.
And I'm also looking forward to what we're going to do. We have talked actually about plans on how together we're going to make some discs. You guys will make them for us. They'll be Ramos Law, and we're going to introduce the sport to people like we talked about earlier, right?
Totally.
People that are looking for a way to get out in nature, to connect with other people, to do a fun thing. And I'm really looking forward to that project with you, Jesse, for sure.
There was also, I'll just shout this out. This has nothing to do with Trash Panda, but there is a company in disc golf called UDisc, which is an app where you can find courses and keep score and all these different things.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's huge. I use that. That's great.
And every year they make a growth report and show, hey, here's what's happened in the past year in disc golf. And so they actually just published it yesterday, last year's growth report. So for anyone who doesn't know about the sport and wants to just like get a scope for how big is disc golf, like the fact that there are more disc golf courses in the US than Dunkin' Donuts, like that's a fact. And so, there's really interesting stats in there to show you just how wide-reaching disc golf really is. So.
Jesse, well, I'm ready to go play.
Yeah, let's go play.
So let's enjoy the rest of this day. Thank you for joining us, and I can't wait for us to get together next time.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
And thank you guys for joining us. If there's something that you would like us to talk about, someone you would like us to visit, please let me know. You can reach me, jim@ramoslaw.com, and give me that feedback. Also, share this episode with your friends. Let's get the good news about having fun, about doing cool things, about being a good person, and about playing disc golf. Let's get it out there. So until next time, you keep making a difference, and then we'll talk again soon.